Welcome to the Cabrio Automatic Washer Teardown video.
The job aid, part number 8178582, should be used in conjunction with this video.
To remove the user interface board, first unplug the washer or disconnect power. Remove the 3 hex head mounting screws from the rear of the console. Tilt the console forward toward the front of the washer. Disconnect the user interface board cable connector at the machine control connector P11 and lift the console off the cabinet. Carefully pull the knob off the control shaft. Turn the console on its face for access to the user interface control. Unhook the user interface wire harness from the cover clips. Then remove the 3 screws from the user interface board cover. Using a flat bladed screwdriver, pry the 2 locking tabs out and unclip and remove the user interface cover from the console. To remove the encoder, lift the locking tab and turn the encoder counterclockwise. Then lift straight up so the shaft slides out of the rubber console seal. Carefully pry the front edge of the user interface board up and then pull the board forward and remove it from the console. To remove the water inlet dispenser valve assembly, be sure the washer is unplugged or the power disconnected, the water supply is off, and the water supply hose is disconnected. Then release the locking tabs and disconnect the wire connectors from the water inlet and dispenser valve assembly solenoid terminals. Release the locking tab and disconnect the wire connector from the thermistor and release the wires from the standoff tabs. Slide the power supply cord strain relief out of the housing and move it away from the valve assembly. Tape the washer lid closed, and then using a putty knife, press and unlock the 2 front top locks. The locks are approximately 6.5 inches from the outside edge of the washer on either side. Lift the washer top and support it. Loosen the clamps and then remove the 4 hoses going to the water inlet dispenser valve assembly. Lower the cabinet top, then remove the 2 hex head screws from the water inlet dispenser valve assembly and remove the assembly from the washer. To remove the machine, motor control, and pressure transducer, pull the pressure transducer tube off of the fitting on the control. Disconnect the 9 wire connectors from the control and disconnect the power supply cord connector from the machine control. Then disconnect the wires from the retaining clips. Remove the hex head mounting screw, then lift the front of the control, slide it out from under the clips at the back, and remove it. To remove the basket hub, the lint filter, and the tub ring, be sure the washer is unplugged or the power is disconnected. Raise the cabinet top, then loosen the clamp and pull the recirculation hose off of the tub ring. Pry out and unsnap the tub ring tabs from the tub and lift the tub ring off of the tub. Next, insert the blade of a small screwdriver into the slot in the impeller cap and pry the cap up to remove it. Remove the 7/16" hex head bolt from the impeller. Then lift and remove the impeller from the basket. Lifting the basket will assist in removing this impeller. Carefully lift the basket out of the washer. To remove the basket hub, remove the 6 screws securing the hub to the basket and lift the hub assembly from the basket. To remove the lint filter, remove the 2 screws and then lift the filter from the tub. To remove a suspension rod or ball, grasp the rod several inches below the suspension ball and lift the rod so the hooked end is free of the ball and slide the rod out of the suspension ball. To remove the drive motor, use a 1/4" Allen wrench and loosen the rotor mounting screw as far as it will go. The screw is captive and cannot be removed from the rotor. The rotor is seated on a spline tub shaft. Loosen the screw as far as it will go and then remove the rotor from the shaft. Remove the 4 3/8" head bolts from the drive motor stator assembly. Be sure to support the stator assembly when removing the final bolt. Carefully pull the stator with the 2 round spacers in the front and back and the shield off of the tub. Disconnect the power connector from the stator terminals. Disconnect the wire standoff and edge connector from the rotor position sensor cover. If present, slide or cut the wire tie from around the edge connector. Pry up on the 2 locking tabs and pull the rotor position sensor cover off of the stator housing. To remove the recirculation pump, be sure the washer is unplugged or the power is disconnected. Remove the wire harness from the pump, loosen the clamps, and pull the recirculation hoses off the pump. Notice that there is a tab on the outlet connector that fits into a slot on the hose. Next, remove the three 5/16" hex head screws from the recirculation pump and remove the pump from the tub. Careful to support the pump when removing the last screw. Accessing the pressure transducer tubing, the recirculation tube, and the drain pump harness requires removing the rear panel. Remove the 8 screws holding the panel on and remove the rear panel. We can now remove the pressure transducer tubing retaining screw and the pressure transducer tubing from the tub. Next, we will remove the retaining screw securing the drain pump wire harness. Loosen the clamp off of the drain pump outlet and remove the drain hose from the drain pump. We can now remove the transducer tubing and the suspension rod from the clamp. The drain pump can be removed by disconnecting the wire connector to the drain pump, removing the wire standoffs from the tub, loosening the hose clamp connecting the drain hose, removing the hose from the pump, and then removing the 3 5/16 head bolts from the pump. Be sure to support the pump when removing the final screw. The counterbalance weight can be removed by removing the 2 5/16" head hex bolts from the counterweight. The tub can now be removed from the machine. To remove the suspension rods, press in on the suspension rod holder locking tabs, then push the holder out of the tub opening. To enter the diagnostic test mode, be sure the washer is in the standby mode. Select any button except for the power, the start, or the pause cancel button. Press and hold that button for 3 seconds, release for 3 seconds, press and hold for 3 seconds, release for 3 seconds, and then press and hold again for 3 seconds. The numbers 8 should be showing in the display. Automatic diagnostics will walk through 9 steps, testing different components. If you press the same button used previously, it will advance through the automatic steps, checking the slow spin speed, the warm water fill through the fresh and detergent valves, the cold water fill through the bleach valve, the hot water fill through the fabric softener valve, the warm water fill through the detergent valve, the agitate if there is water in the machine, recirculation, the drain to the basket engaged, drain and slow spin, and then finally coast to a stop, and then when it gets back to C0, it's the end of the diagnostics.